Good afternoon, good evening, and hello everybody. I hope we're all well. Now, it's been a long time since I put some videos up, and that's just due to me moving into a new place, but I'm here now, and I'm getting back into the swing of things, doing some more games on World of Tanks. Will be some of the videos, but I thought I'd kick things off by talking about a tank I recently got, and I can also say I didn't really think I'd ever be talking about this tank again, but we're back with the King Dragon. And we're back with the King Dragon because we have some changes. We have some quite significant changes. Albeit just one particular one, but it's still a very, very big change. The King Dragon is getting a brand new gun. This throws up a lot of contention though, and there is a large discussion. Yes, it's only one particular gun, but there is a lot to come from this. So what has actually changed? Well, it's getting a 105mm gun. Run through some of the statistics as it is, both of what Wargaming provide and also what you'll find on the supply menu. We've got penetration of standard 200mm. Premium is 250 and your HE is 53. One of the changes specific to this, because it is one of the British guns, is you're getting APCR as standard and heat rounds as a secondary measure. Seems to be all good. One of the advantages of having heat is the fact you don't lose the penetration over distance. Fairly good when you're coming across targets which you need to hit maybe flat side on. Because this tank can see a tier 10, that is actually quite useful. Is a difference between what it was previously. In the main menu, so if you go into the supply side, you get 150 to 250 for your standard APCR penetration and 188 to 313 for your heat. That's for the new upgraded 105 gun. For the previous one, your standard was AP rounds and you had 143 to 238. So there's a slight buff on that one. To be honest, much in the same way that this tank was a slight buff over the normal Type 59, both in regards to the soft stats, so your actual gun aim time and handling and etc. was all increased. I'll take it. The high explosive anti-tank in versus the APCR of the premium round. So the premium for the APCR on the previous King Tiger, 185 to 309. The heat on this one, 188 to 313. So again, a slight increase, but don't forget it's heat ammunition, so losing that penetration over distance is not going to be an issue. And you get a slight penetration buff on the HE. One of the big changes is the amount of damage you can do. It feels like it's almost double. So what is claimed to be on the website, so this is from the normal stats, they're around about 390, 390, 480. And this is genuinely true. There are a lot of occasions I will do 350 plus. I'll get into the 400s easy. It does do a hell of a lot of damage. When you go onto the supply menu, you get 293 to 488 alpha. I don't think I've hit anywhere near 310 with this yet, and I don't know if that's just me picking up on the high damage rolls versus the low ones, but they'll be in the video that you're watching at the moment on Prokhorovka. The other main thing to take into account is the standard reload time is 13.18 seconds. Now I've got a decent, well I say a decent, it's a fully trained group, but it's not got many perks on it, and I can get it just out to 11.37 seconds. This is the only contention that I really dislike, and it kind of leads into a thread that was created on the forums, and it beggars belief. God damn it. Sorry, just get rid of that. The thing it throws in is the fact that the previous gun had a decent reload time. I believe it was about 6.9 seconds. Now this is almost double that for what would be double the alpha. It seems legit, it seems correct. I'm trying to figure out if there's an actual genuine reason for this to be the case, and I thought, okay, so much in the same way that you find other tanks, if we take an example of the German heavy tank line, you will quite often find that, say, the 10.5 or I believe the 10.8, 10.5 and the 12.8, you will find that you'll have a higher penetrating gun, lower alpha, or lower penetration, high alpha. I mean, you take the E100 for example, if people put the top package on there, they spam heat because they can't get the penetration as what they would in the lower gun, but they get that alpha to go with it. This tank can see tier 10s, and I would rather have the rate of fire than the ability to be able to put shots down range and actually have a decent chance of penning them than deal with the longer reload. There are another great, again this is a German line, the Borsig for example, and the Waffelpanzer. It's not worth using the 15cm when the 12.8 has a quicker reload and greater penetration. I mean, it still shoots off in like 10 seconds. Do you fire another one? It's ridiculously good. But someone did post this up in the forums and specifically mention what I was thinking, that it would be nice to have the option, because they've changed the actual gun itself, it would be nice to have the option of both guns available. I don't know if it would be the case that people would be more inclined to buy the tanks. I mean, each to their own. People buy tanks that are vastly over expensive, but they might work out in their case. They might want it for one specific reason, but I kind of like the idea of having both guns available to me. I like the idea that I want to go back to my previous rate of fire gun. So this is quite a change. Playing in the games that I've played so far, the Prokhorovka one was a different one. Because it was a stalemate, it worked out well. Unfortunately, the Conqueror I was shooting, it was a bit iffy, bit there, here, there and everywhere. Didn't really want to pen. I'm reluctant to use the heat ammunition, not because of the cost, but because of the reload time. I'm reluctant to use any other ammunition other than the standard unless I know I'm coming across artillery and there's not much in front of me, because again the reload time is there. I'm making silver off it without a doubt because I'm not doing that, but it makes it pointless. Why have the option of the heat ammunition when I'm in a tank which has a 11-second reload in games where people can out DPM me with very much ease? I have to play this tank now as more of a medium range sniper, because if I was to get up close I need to have support. Now you'll see this on Westfield that's really obvious that I need that. I mean, obviously the tanks I've come across on that one in particular, I'll not spoil the surprise, but it's not something you would want to. But it kind of illustrates the principle of the fact you don't want something with high alpha unless you have the support behind you. Now with the fact I had rate of fire in the previous gun, you could get in the one-on-one situations, you could get up close and personal, and you wouldn't have the issue of maybe firing off one shot and finding it bounce and have to wait 11 seconds while they fire off another two. It's lost some of its appeal changing the gun to a 105 in a bad way, in my opinion. I haven't, though, disliked playing it. I see the shortcomings of the tank, and I also see what could be considered a pro. I like high damage alpha guns. I like being able to do a lot of damage. But I can see where this could fall flat. I do kind of like the idea, though, from that thread of heat ammunition going wild there, because I didn't really aim it. I can see how other people actually come to the idea and say, yes, that's not bad, to say, yeah, let's have both guns. It would be a good idea. But at the end of the day, they've changed it. Whether they'll change it back, whether they'll change the fact of having two different options, is up to them. How have I found this tank so far is the main point of the video since the changes. Whether we'll see a change or not, again, could be in the future. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's as good as the previous one, but I'll also put it out there that I don't see the point in why it was changed. It might be the case that in IRL that we did actually have this gun. I still don't see the point in the change. It wasn't really needed in the first place, the tank. I mean, it was basically the buff version, the Type 59 or the PC version. Why is it now getting the 105 gun when, and I did play, trying to think now, on Ghost Town. I made a bit of an error on Ghost Town and ended up dying from it, but this tank in Tier 8, if you have a team that pushes forward, it does kind of remove tanks really well if you're not being targeted. Now again, keeping it mid-range is one of the aspects of making sure you stay alive and you have the support. If you don't, you can find yourself in a bit of trouble. Having that rate of fire on the previous one, you would be like any other medium tank, and people would be probably less inclined to go for you. Other ones being light tanks as well, because of the Tier 9s in particular. The T49 has a tendency, have I seen before, that it will definitely go for you and have an easy chance of penning you, and you've got the problem of, if you miss, you've got to wait another 11 seconds and you're probably going to be dead at that point. So if you are going to use it, ensure you are going to make sure, well, I keep saying sure, please just keep it mid-range or longer unless you have support, and I'll show you that on Westfield. But we're coming to the end of the game on Prokhorovka. It kind of went okay for me. The Conqueror I had issues with, but I've also had issues with this one on the previous game that I played on. Oh god, I can't remember the map now, but it was a city one. It wasn't Nuremberg or Ensk, believe it or not. Had issues with it. It wasn't wanting to pen over the range. I think that's indicative of the fact it does lose its APCR kind of penetration. Maybe the heat would have done well on that one. I was reluctant to fire again. I don't want to wait that reload time. It's nice that it still has the gun aim time. I mean, again, was it really needed to keep that because of the high alpha? What's the trade-off? I still don't think it was a worthy buff. I don't see the point in the change. I would like to know why it was changed. I would like to know what actually went through their head for it. I still don't see the point. But here we are now. If we're going to talk about the game, well, you've obviously seen what's already gone on. It has its tendencies to miss. It has its tendencies to bounce. If you are going to keep it and actually play it, you will have a lot of fun. This is effectively the buffed version of Type 59. If you haven't got it, and it maybe comes up, you can possibly have a look into it. It might be something you'll enjoy. Ignore the message. The guy doesn't, the person didn't actually realise it now fires APCR as standard and put premium rounds lol. Yeah. So I just let him know. He's yet to respond actually, which is funny considering that someone wants to send you a hate mail and not actually reply past it. But okay, always going to be nice to him and actually tell him that. But if you don't want to respond, that's his prerogative. The game goes on. He's end up dying. We end up walking the game. This one actually worked out to be quite a useful match because of it being a stalemate and people over mid-range. And I could go hull down and keep myself covered by a lot of occasions and get some RNG luck on that T54X1 who decided to get ammo racked twice in a row. This was my highest damaging game that I actually had overall. I got 4,000 damage, was it? Let's have a look. 4,242 damage, 1,000 assist. I ended up firing, when I do actually pop it up, there you go, 25 with 19 hits, 14 pens. Part of the way because I didn't actually aim the Conqueror correctly and it did bounce. So I probably would say part of that is my fault. You just want to make sure you're not going to be doing something overly dramatic and overly trying to think of a one that I've seen where it's just basically in your face, let's go YOLO, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyways, we're going to get into the map on Westfield and we're going to see pretty much exactly what I mean when it comes to people needing to ensure you have backup. It's tier 10, but not by very much. There's only 3 on each team that I can see. There's only 1 artillery on each team as well, so I need to make sure I avoid them at all possibility. This is not the way I wanted to play it. Anytime I play Westfield, I will always go up to the top left-hand corner. Now, this forced me to play this tank completely differently, but it kind of worked out fairly well. I was finding it difficult to find a heavy tier 10 lobby. I kept finding myself in more games where I would be top tier maybe once or twice out of 10 games, but they wouldn't be massively weighted towards tier 10 tanks, which was sort of annoying in some respect because if I've got a higher tier gun where I'm going to find tier 10s, I want to see how it acts. If there is one thing I did find is that the T10 lower front plate can be penned by my APCR ammunition, and it's a great feeling, but I can't pen the Conqueror in some cases because reasons and tribulations, if that is even the correct term to use. But anyways, most of our team is going up the right hand side, which is indicative of people lemming training around what would be apparently the wrong side, but it actually works out well. Unfortunately, we get spotted by the AMX and we don't really want to be shot by artillery because if he does, he'll probably dirt me. So I'm trying to maneuver around as much as I can. God, I hate slow tanks, but anything you're going to do for YouTube. I start looking to head back, but there's the corner over in E1. I do eventually look in that direction. I know I do. There you go. There's a little hull down spot that I can go into. I don't really want to go too far up the hill because I know I'm going to be absolutely obliterated by whatever comes around the corner. Most of our team is sitting back. From what I understand, because I never actually got hit by artillery in this game, most of the artillery is aiming on, well, the artillery is mostly aiming on that bottom side towards K8 and 9. Big stalemate, he's got a straight line to hit people in, and he's probably going to be hitting people that are stood still. I will take that any day of the week. Now this is a little hull down spot that I found myself into. Again, I'm trying to see, this is completely new, this is not something I've done before on Westfield. I do prefer to get as far up as possible, but the team kind of negated that actually happening. So this was completely new to me, I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought this would be a really good spot to be able to get into. Nice little shot on the AMX, pushing him back, because I have the option of being able to pop up and just show the top of my turret, maybe the front corner of my tank. But I wanted to see, can I hold people off? Can I hold off a flank? Now, there's not just the T10 that's over here. There is a Carnarvon, and there is an E4. That's a little bounce. And I believe there's another tank, but I can't remember what it is or if he actually came round. This is the scenario I don't want to find myself in with a high alpha, long reload gun. If you akin it to what would be a tank destroyer of sorts. You've got like a 15-second reload. You don't want to be in a position where you're going to get flanked and you need the team support. Not something you should be thinking of in a medium tank, to be perfectly honest, because that rate of fire is something you'd want. but in this case it is. So I wanted to see how well it acted. So far so good. It appears to be, now there's only like 4 of us up here, not including myself, 2 people in the town, the medium who's in E3 and the Death Star who's in F1. They're doing work on the people on the hill, and I don't know how they got themselves in such a good position, but they did. So all I've got to hold off is a T10, a Carnarvon, and an E4, which is, again, brilliant. Let's see how it goes. Now, this is what I mean by the T10 front plate. Ooh, like butter. Lovely. 409. If you do take note of the damage rolls in the game, I probably won't do. You'll see that it's actually quite decent. Now, again, long reload. I'm being flanked by Carnarvon, and I'll probably only get 1 shot in. Fortunately, the Death Star has other ideas and takes him out. Shooting the questionable placement with APCR is not something I'd actually honestly say to do against T10. You'd probably better load up the heat, but again, the reload, I don't want to do it. And I go through the side just. Here comes the E4. I'm in a predicament. I need the support of my team to be able to shoot. He's got a fair amount of health. I'm still reloading. I believe I've got heat because I wanted to track him. And he got murked by everybody. Now, if you imagine, for example, that the Death Star was hit by the artillery or one of the other tanks, say the medium, the Indie wasn't there, that's where the issues are created. Not specifically on this map, but also other ones in corridors. For example, Mountain Pass is another good one to actually give. Don't find yourself in a position where you're on your own. If you feel that you're going to be buggered through whatever reason, maybe it's the case that you've decided to go down a flank which isn't properly covered by your own team, don't do it in this tank. Really don't. The 105 is really not worth it. The reload time is pointless. It's just not going to be anything useful for you. I would definitely say stick back, wait for your team to go forward, and then finish them off from that point. We're now down to the last few tanks. I don't know how this has happened. I would presume that they have somehow moved down that right-hand side very easily and just murked everything that's come round. And their artillery has done nothing much to try and stop it. I don't know where that shot actually went, because the tree was in the way. I'm going to assume I grounded it, but he's not lasted much longer anyways. And the light tank's in the base, so we don't have to worry too much about him. And now it's just a case of waiting for the game to finish and have a look at the post-game stats, which for 6 shots is going to be absolutely dog crap. But we'll see anyway. I mean, again, it's a completely new way of playing Westfield that I've ever done, and it actually worked out quite well. Nice little ×2 on the silver up I've got there. 2,326 damage with 9 shots, 8 hits and 6 penetrations, which not too bad considering the gun. Putting myself in a very, very dodgy position would be the great way of putting that across. My overall thoughts on the tank then. Well, I don't see the point of the buff. The buff was irrelevant. I don't think it was needed or necessary. I never really found an issue with the previous gun. I mean, let's be perfectly fair, it's the buff version of Type 59 with both a slight increase in the aim time and accuracy, where it's just going to be like, I think it was about 2.3 rather than about 2.8. The tank was already good to start with, and then they did this with the King Dragon. So I don't specifically see the point. I would like the option to go back to the previous gun, more so because I enjoy the rate of fire more than I do the Alpha in this particular instance. Whether being a premium tank, I don't have to worry about being the type of person to be up front in people's faces. I can just snipe back, get some silver, and move on to the next game. And it will probably end up being quite useful for me to do that. I'll end up having a decent go in the game and come out well for it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And welcome back. It's nice to be here. And I'll see you beautiful people later.